We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
New developments pouring in over the weekend, revealing a possible motive in Charlie Kirk's assassination. So could the shooting suspect's relationship with his roommate be a factor? Plus, the accused killer, tight-lipped so far, allegedly not cooperating with authorities. So how do they make him talk? Our investigator panelists are weighing in. Also this hour, we're spotlighting the officer's affair murder trial for Anthony Sheay. He's accused of killing his wife and staging her death to look like a suicide. His defense attorney is speaking out this morning. Plus, accused killer Brian Walshe expected to be in court today after he was stabbed in jail just days ago. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I hope you had a great weekend. We've got a great show planned for you, so we'll get it started as we always do by having you grab that cup of coffee or tea or hot water with lemon, whatever you like in the morning. It's time for my opening statement. Author Chad Daybell is returning to writing. The death row inmate is writing a series of letters being published by his daughter, according to reporting by the U.S. Sun. She's publishing them on the website Letters from Chad. The prophet's writings say that his purpose is to share his story, unfiltered, straight from him. He blames the media for not accurately portraying him. He claims he's a gentle person and not a killer, and says he hopes his letters generate healing, reconciliation, and understanding. There are 5 letters so far. None of them speak about murdering his first wife, Tammy, or his second wife's 2 kids, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. He claims that he's laying the groundwork about who he is before he speaks about the things that happened in 2019. The prophet did not mention his cult mom wife, Lori, in any of his letters, but he did reminisce about his life with his first wife, Tammy. Says he still loves her, calls her an angel on earth. And he's sticking to a story that she hadn't been well and just passed away in her sleep. So, my friends, I want to know who the prophet thinks that he is convincing with that garbage. If he wanted to tell a story, why didn't he tell it to the jury? Oh, wait, I know why. Because he murdered 3 people and buried 2 helpless children in his backyard. That's probably why he didn't want to be asked about those things. Now, in his weird letters from prison, he can say whatever he wants, totally unchallenged and unchecked. Okay, Mr. Doomsday, you go ahead with your letters. You keep living in your obvious state of denial. Nothing that you write, though, will bring back JJ, Tylee, or Tammy. And your denial won't get you off of death row. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
When the vehicle stopped or after the vehicle stopped, any noises that you recognized?
She just kept saying, "Mommy."
In Florida, we've got the trial for 5 people charged in the drive-by shooting of 4-year-old Sonny Bell. It resumes this morning. Testimony we expect to start up at about 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Also happening in Florida, we've got a brand new trial for you. We're calling this one the pregnant mistress murder trial. Defendant Jose Soto Escalera is accused of killing his pregnant mistress. Opening statements in that one kick off at 9 a.m. Eastern. And in Massachusetts, we've got accused killer Brian Walshe expected to be in court today for a status conference. His hearing set to get underway at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Right now, let's turn to your top story. We've got new details emerging of a possible motive in the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. So could the suspect's roommate and lover be a factor? 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was arrested for the deadly attack on Thursday after a 2-day-long manhunt. Utah Governor Spencer Cox spoke out over the weekend, noting that Robinson may have been radicalized online. Last week, we heard the governor speaking about the suspect's conversations with his family.
Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in that conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate.
The governor also said over the weekend that Robinson was living with and in a relationship with a person that was transitioning from being male to becoming female. According to police, the roommate has been cooperative and was, quote, shocked in learning about what happened. Investigators are still trying to piece together a motive. But we're wondering this morning, could Tyler Robinson's roommate and lover be relevant to the investigation, or also the motive? Let's bring in retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer, former SLED agent and former prosecutor Tommy Pope with us as well. Good morning to you both. Jennifer, let me start with you, please. Your thoughts on the roommate lover. How helpful do you think this individual will be in piecing together this case?
I think, Julie, he's going to be very relevant. And this is why. This is somebody who was extremely close to the shooter, somebody who lived with him day in and day out, somebody he would have expressed and heard expression of different political ideas. Again, I think he's going to be able to provide information, particularly regarding the motive.
I appreciate that. Tommy, let me ask you, please, about what was inscribed on the cartridge casings. Let's take a listen to what the governor noted about that, Tommy, and we'll come to you on the other side.
Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow," and a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
Tommy, do you think we can glean anything with respect to the motive from what was inscribed on these cartridge casings?
I think it meshes with, he is clearly on the other side of Charlie Kirk's views. As you know, and I know your viewers know by now, that you don't have to prove a motive. I think it gives us some insight into the killer. But, ultimately, it's a matter, as Jennifer said, it's a matter of proof. And the roommate, had it been a roommate, a trans friend, a wife, a spouse, a best friend, that's standard law enforcement practice. You're going to get to the people that's closest, because a jury, even though you don't have to prove motive, a jury is expecting to understand it sometimes to bridge some gaps that can be in circumstantial evidence. And so I think it's going to tie in with the total picture.
Tommy, appreciate it. Jennifer, let me go back to you, please. Some of the friends of Tyler Robinson, the suspect, have said and confirmed to law enforcement that there was a deep, dark internet culture, dark places on the web where Robinson supposedly was, according to them, was going deep. How might that fact, if it's true, again, presented by his friends to law enforcement, how might that help assist investigators in determining how exactly the alleged, planning, placement, all the things that occurred on that dreadful day, September the 10th, happened?
Well, other than the video proof and the forensic proof that they're going to have, this digital footprint is going to be really important, Julie. It's going to show in his words and in his communications, not somebody reflecting on what they heard, but actually his communications on these boards with these individuals. Now it's there and it's in writing. And so all the time in cases like this, law enforcement is going to want to bring these messages forth to show exactly what he was thinking and what he was planning to do.
Yes. Jennifer, thank you. Tommy, tomorrow, this defendant is going to be in court in Utah. We know that he's already been charged by police, and we expect the district attorney's office to file their formal charges. It may include some amendments, as you know. Do you think we could learn tomorrow whether they'll be seeking the death penalty?
There's certainly that possibility. As I've told you in the past, that my approach to the death penalty is first you've got to see, can you prove the murder beyond a reasonable doubt? Because if a jury has even lingering doubt, obviously you got to get a conviction. But if there's lingering doubt or if it's kind of circumstantial, sometimes you can risk getting a conviction by seeking the death penalty, but I'm sure the prosecutor will make that determination. I would imagine if the evidence is solid, whether they announce it tomorrow or not, I would see a path in which they're seeking the death penalty, particularly if they have the evidence that I've initially heard of some fingerprints. I got to believe with all this writing on the casings, with the gun being found, I think they're going to have some good forensics, as Jennifer referred to. And I believe that the evidence will be there to prosecute him. They won't need his help. And so I feel certain that this would be a death penalty case.
Tommy, thank you for that. You've tried them. You've done them. You have that experience. And uniquely in this case, we know Charlie Kirk's position on it because of videos of him speaking about it. He was pro-death penalty. And so I find that very unique. We don't always have the actual victim's perspective on this, but here in this case, they do. Jennifer, I want to ask you about something. A lot of people are talking about the shot that killed Charlie Kirk. You are a firearms expert. Matter of fact, you were training over the weekend. Tell me, would you assess this for us, given the individual? We're not talking about a professional. We're not talking about somebody former military or someone like yourself. Tell me, was this that hard of a shot to make from that distance for a person like 22-year-old Tyler Robinson?
Well, the particular gun he shot, which was a Mauser 30-06 rifle, this rifle is so extremely accurate. So it's important to understand the vehicle with which he was using to commit this crime, right? So it's very accurate. Secondarily, the distance he was at was not a great distance for this rifle. This rifle could go 3 to 4 times as far, depending on the skill of the shooter. In fact, back in Montana, the target lengths are up to a mile that people try to shoot with similar guns, just so people understand. It's a difficult shot. But nevertheless, this was an easy shot for somebody if they were practiced with this weapon from this distance.
Really helpful insight you both have shared. Retired Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer, thank you so much. And we have to let you go. We'll see you back here very soon. Attorney Tommy Pope is coming with us. Do the same at home, please. Go get some more coffee. We continue our coverage and the latest developments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The suspect reportedly not cooperating with police, so we'll talk about how to get him to talk. Plus,
when someone says to me, well, she said 2 months before that she would never commit suicide, you know what I say? I say she's thinking about suicide.
So was it suicide or was it homicide? We're spotlighting the officer's affair murder trial for defendant Anthony Sheay. And as you just saw, that attorney who you should recognize is speaking out on behalf of his client. The story's coming up.
My 2 best friends were just murdered.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series where we take you from the crime scene to the courtroom.
Donna Adelson hates every piece of grass that Dave Marcel ever walked on.
It's something that'll haunt all of us forever.
It always seemed like he was covering or deceiving.
This was a whole different level.
victim to verdict with Ted Rollins, a Court TV original series. Season premieres September 27th.
Only on Court TV.
Man, just, you hear the pop, and then you just see it, like, hit his chest, and then just blood squirted out of him all over the table, and then he just fell over, and I just, like, I'm shaking.
As the assassination of conservative activist leader Charlie Kirk continues to be a trending topic, we're learning more about the alleged assassin, defendant Tyler Robinson. The suspect tight-lipped on any shooting details. While speaking with ABC News, Utah's Governor Spencer Cox gave this update on the case, including Robinson's reluctance to speak with law enforcement.
He has not confessed to authorities. He is not cooperating. But all the people around him are cooperating, and I think that's very important. We're collecting much more, including forensic evidence that is coming back from Quantico that will help us tie the shooter to the weapon and everything else. So that's all being processed right now.
The governor went on to say that more information will be revealed in the coming days as charges are expected to be formally filed by the district attorney's office on Tuesday. So we're asking our panelists, how do investigators work around this uncooperative suspect? Let's bring in criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Mario Gallucci and retired police lieutenant Mike Gould. Good morning to you both. Lieutenant, you know I want to start with you on this, please. How do you make a guy like this talk?
Well, I think time, when he's isolated, if he's shut out from the outside world, internet and so forth, that has a tendency for somebody to start cooperating. But when his privileges are taken away. But frankly, I don't know the necessity of this. You have the gun, you got the bullet, you got videotape, you have an enormous amount of forensic evidence here, similar to the Luigi Mangione thing. So it would be nice, icing on the cake, maybe get some insight into a maniacal brain. But other than that, I think time he'll talk, or more importantly, as the governor said, his family and friends will kind of put this together. I think they already have it, frankly. I'm sure Mario can add greater insight.
Really sharp point you made there, Lieutenant, about how essentially you're saying, you know, if my case, I don't care if this guy talks because I've got enough. I don't need him to say a word. I'm confident in my case, my evidence. He can sit there and be quiet for all I care. Appreciate that. Mario, you know I want to go to you on the other facet of this. So the legal aspect. So if investigators aren't extremely careful on how they go about approaching all that, great defense attorney like yourself is going to get in there and uncover what's wrong. So tell me, what are some of the things that you would be looking for at this point in time? He's hit the jail. What about counsel? Talk to me, Mario.
So you can't compel somebody to testify against themselves. I mean, it's under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. You have a right to remain silent, and that's what Miranda is for. As far as an attorney, I would be in there immediately to counsel him and tell him to keep remaining silent. The only time I would ever counsel a client to maybe speak is if there is an incentive for him to speak. So in this case, he's looking at the death penalty. If they take the death penalty off the table and say, look, if you confess to this, you're gonna, you'll serve the rest of your life in prison without, the death penalty, maybe that's something to consider. But why would they do that? I mean, as was just spoken, they have more than enough evidence for a conviction here. They have the gun, they have more forensic evidence, they have his friends, they have the roommate. So, there's no reason to give him a specific deal in this case unless they think that there's co-conspirators. Are there other people out there that he conspired with? Those are some of the things I would be looking at if I were law enforcement.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Mario. Let's take a listen to what Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, said when she addressed the nation from the headquarters of Turning Point USA, the company that her husband founded. She stood right next to the chair that he used to sit in. Let's listen to some of what she said.
I will never, ever have the words to describe the loss that I feel in my heart. I honestly have no idea what any of this means. I know that God does, but I don't. But Charlie, baby, I know you do too. I know you do.
Just so heartbreaking watching Erica Kirk there. The children that they shared together, you have to wonder, you know, the daughter's 3, the son is just a matter of months old. You have to wonder, are they going to have memories of their dad? This is just horrific. Lieutenant Gould, let me go back to you here, please. When we think about what law enforcement does with the family, people don't get to see that. They don't get to see those interactions, all of the work that people like you have put into cases throughout the years, all the energy you pour into them and what goes on behind closed doors. Would you kind of give us an idea of what it may be like for these investigators working this case and the communications they're having with Charlie Kirk's family?
Yeah, Julie, I mean, this is nothing new. Look, this deeply saddens me. The widow's wife was very moving, but none of this was surprising to me because nothing new is here. This reminds me of the John F. Kennedy assassination that I witnessed when I was a young kid. That little John Kennedy had 2 young children, and thankfully they grew up to be very apparently stable and great human beings. So that's obviously the job of psychologists, the family. I think they're in a better condition than the average person. I mean, unfortunately, children lose parents unexpectedly every day. So it is a challenge and it is heartbreaking, and I certainly don't want to be. And law enforcement usually isn't the ones that are actually interacting with the children, you know, once the death notifications are made, social workers and psychologists. But it's an extremely sad and difficult, but not surprising, and we're going to deal with this again and again in the future. As we've had political violence since Lincoln was assassinated in 1865, so nothing surprising here to me.
Yeah, Lieutenant. One thing for anybody who might have missed, we had you on the show the other day, and you shared the one thing that was surprising was what seemed to be the lack of security on the rooftops. Would you mind speaking to that, looking at this with all your many years of experience, what you see as big mistakes that were made here?
Yeah, Julie, this really kind of upset me because I feel that this was a kind of a lack of security, frankly. People talk because he wasn't a political candidate. But there's an assembly of 3,000 people in a fishbowl, basically sitting ducks, as was Charlie. And there was no rooftop surveillance. We just learned this a year ago. And I talked to my colleagues about that, and their first thing is, well, we can't put people on roofs all the time. I'm not talking about putting Navy snipers on the roof. I'm talking to put a volunteer with a radio or a cell phone on the highest point. If this suspect, had an AR-15, we're always talking about mass shootings. If he was up there with an automatic rifle, this would have been a massacre of grave proportion. Fortunately, he had a single shot. He fired 1 round. But this was a grave, and I don't like to be Monday night quarterback. I made bad decisions as a supervisor in my career, God knows, and I don't like to be criticized on Monday morning. But this is how we learn for the future. So this really upset me. And I think that, as I said, you could have put a volunteer fireman on the roof. It doesn't have to be a trained person. They have to have eyes and a radio, and that's it. And that, I think, would have prevented that. We do that at every gathering. Parades in New York City, there's always rooftop surveillance.
Yes, excellent insight, very helpful insight you're sharing, Lieutenant. Look, it's done. I mean, unfortunately, there's nothing that can bring Charlie Kirk back, but we can learn from these mistakes. And if things weren't learned when they should have been learned, when President Trump, had that assassination attempt on his life, then what's it going to take? My gosh, what is it going to take? Too many of these instances are occurring. Mario, let me ask you about something else. I keep hearing a lot of questions about this, and you practice in both state and federal court. Do you think there could possibly be a basis for any federal charges as well to come with this case?
Well, I'm sure the U.S. Attorney's Office out of Utah is looking into it. It could go both ways. You could do a state or a federal case here. If you wanted to do a federal case, you would have to bring some sort of action against the nation, saying that what he committed here was an action against our nation by the killing of Charlie Kirk. That Charlie Kirk, although not a political figure, was a prominent figure, and did speak out against what he believed in, and that as a result of that, they could try to find some sort of conspiracy. It might be better tried as a state case here, and Utah's all over this. They're doing the investigation they did was wonderful. I mean, they were right on this right away. So, it could go federal, but I believe it's going to remain in the state.
Mario, thanks so much for weighing in on that. I really appreciate that. And who knows, perhaps the death penalty factor may be what decides things, when you think about, right, this only certain federal charges will carry the possibility of the death penalty, where we know if they pursue aggravated murder in Utah, they can certainly get there on these facts. Mario Gallucci, you are sticking with us. We appreciate that. Go get some more coffee, friend. Lieutenant Mike Gould, thank you so much for your time, your expertise, for coming on today. We'll look forward to having you back very soon. When we come back, we're going to be spotlighting a brand new case for you. This one we're calling the Officers Affair Murder Trial for defendant Anthony Sheay and his very high-profile criminal defense attorney, who you will recognize, a friend of Court TV and a friend of the show, is going to be sitting down with us. That interview is next. Plus, accused killer Brian Walshe stabbed in jail last week. Well, today, he's set to appear in court. What's that going to be like? Our Legal Eagles weigh in. Welcome back. This morning, our spotlight is on a new case that we are tracking for trial here at Court TV. We're calling this one the Officers Affair murder case for defendant Anthony Sheay. So he's accused of killing his wife, Ellie, after claiming that she died by suicide. Now, both of them served with the Orange County Sheriff's Department in Florida. Now, he is currently being held without any bond. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas spoke to Sheay's high-profile defense attorney, Mark O'Mara.
Well, good morning, Julie. This is such a tragic case, not only involving two former Orange County Sheriff's Office deputies, but a husband and wife. Now, of course, the state says Anthony Sheay planned to kill and had this whole long-winded plan to kill his wife, Ellie, but the defense says that she killed herself. A gruesome scene in the Sheay residence in October of 2024 when this all happened. At the time, Anthony Sheay had resigned from the Orange County Sheriff's Office due to an internal investigation into an affair he was having while on duty. His wife Ellie found out about the affair, but Sheay's attorney says that doesn't point to motive.
Since we now know that 60% of the people, or more than 50% of the people, end up in some type of marital discord and divorce, okay. Does that mean that 50% plus kill their spouses?
One of the cornerstones of the state's case relies on cell phone evidence, Ellie's last sent texts, and a 54-minute accidental audio recording that the defense says may not hold much weight when this case makes it to trial.
The state is saying there's 54 minutes of silence, and therefore there could have not been a gunshot during that 54 minutes, and therefore it had to be before, therefore it had to be him.
The state has also presented evidence of a voice note Ellie sent a friend 2 months before her death, saying suicide would be an easy way out and that she wanted to be here for her daughters. Sheay's defense pushed back on that evidence.
If that's what she did, was commit suicide, which is the defense position, then at some point she thought in her own mind that that was a rational thought process. I don't know why she thought that, but it seems as though she did.
Now, Julie, the defense says that this case is built on nothing more than assumptions and circumstantials. Anthony Sheay is currently being held without bond, and his trial is scheduled for February of 2026. That's the latest on this case, Julie, thus far. I'll send it back to you.
All right, our thanks to Cody Thomas for that report. Now let's bring in our Legal Eagles. I've got two high-profile attorneys on the show with me this morning, Mario Gallucci and Tommy Pope. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what attorney Mark O'Mara is saying here in this interview. So he seems not concerned, but he's a very good defense attorney, right? This doesn't seem like this is going to be a slam dunk for anybody. Mario, do me a favor, kind of assess this case on both sides. Tell me what are the things that are jumping out at you that you think are going to be some challenges, please.
So I love Mark. I mean, he's doing a great job. He's getting right out in front of this. I mean, this was just basically an arraignment, and he's already created, a defense. He's getting his side of the story out there immediately, which is something I try to do all the time. The best part about this case is it's a circumstantial case. There's no direct proof. There are some forensics, but the forensics is DNA on the trigger, but you would expect his DNA to be on the trigger. He lives in the house, and he's also a sheriff's officer. The 54-minute accidental recording. I love these accidental recordings. I just had this in a trial I just did that you know about, the Gregor trial. We had an accidental recording. Most people, I've never had an accidental recording. I don't know many people who have accidental recordings, and the state is relying on this accidental recording to say you don't hear a gunshot. So I believe that Mark will probably try to keep that evidence out from the jury and move forward. I think, and talking about suicide, when somebody talks about suicide, it may mean that they're thinking of it, which is troubling, and that's something that Mark has just put out there also. So far, he's doing a great job of getting ahead of this and putting the story out there.
Mario, great insight. Thank you. Let's play that audio you referenced. So this accidental recording apparently is a big part of the state's case. Again, this is from victim Ellie Sheay's phone. They played some of it during her husband, Anthony's bond hearing just last week. Let's take a listen.
From about 40:26 until 41:15 is the defendant inside the room with his deceased wife?
Yes.
And are we hearing the first noise that he makes?
Yes.
Just now.
I need help. My wife shot. Where was she? Amy. Help. Yes. Yeah, she's in that meeting. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. No, Ellie. No.
Okay, Tommy Pope, your thoughts on this recording? How helpful do you think this is going to be to anybody's case?
I was trying to understand, Julie, in the placement of it, if that was him, was he then calling 911? I was doing what Mario's doing, trying to lean into here and understand. If that's what it is, then suddenly why this long time and now you're going to be excited or now you're going to be upset. But I'll go back to all the things Mario said earlier. I think it's going to be a tough case. Your traditional forensics are perfectly explainable with the, sharing the gun, sharing the household. The suicide talk, I think, it can be in or out of context. I think that's important. When we've had somebody we knew took their lives, we'd always, kind of discuss as a family how that's just not an alternative, but it doesn't mean, I may have said in my life, well, suicide would certainly be easier, but that's not what you're going to do. So again, I think you're going to have it in some context, but I think it's going to be a very difficult case for the prosecution.
Tommy, thank you so much. Sharp analysis there. So, Mario, let me bounce this off of you. The state's contention is that Ellie Sheay was shot by her husband, who then took the daughters that the couple shares together to the grocery store. And then they say that's when he came back to the house after the grocery trip and called 911 to supposedly report this as a suicidal death. Does that story make sense to you from a defense perspective, Mario?
So the way the story, from what I understand, is that it was marital discord between the two of them, that they had gone to church the night before. They had come home and had an argument. I believe he's being accused of having some sort of extramarital affair, that the fight was over that, and that in the morning she woke up and she said she needed her space. I believe there were even text messages to that effect, that she needed her space, and that she asked him to take the kids out of the house and go to Publix and give her that time, thus creating the ability, he's out of the house. Now you have the perfect alibi. He wasn't home when this occurred. He was in Publix and he's on video doing this. This is something that Mark is probably going to run with. That's a big piece of evidence for the defense, that he was out of the house, he was shopping. It's consistent with marital discord. It's consistent with her request that she needed her space. And maybe she sent them away needing her space because she knew what she was going to do, unfortunately.
Appreciate it. We'll leave this case here for now. We know the trial is tentatively set for February. So really, when you think about it, this is going to be right around the corner, and we'll report any other big developments. Big thank you to you both for weighing in. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's next on Opening Statements.
There were also more Google searches on January 2nd. Hacksaw best tool to dismember. Can you be charged with murder without a body? Can you identify a body with broken teeth?
Accused killer Brian Walshe expected to be back in court today after he was just stabbed in jail days ago. We'll talk about it next. Young mother found brutally murdered.
Now the victim's boyfriend, a married father of 4,
is charged for the murder of his alleged mistress and her unborn child.
The pregnant mistress murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
We're taking you inside the investigations of the country's biggest cases. Join us each morning as we dig deeper into what's trending in true crime.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Now, for what's tipping the scales in the murder case against defendant Brian Walshe. Walshe is accused of murdering his missing wife, Anna. He's also accused of dismembering her body. He's set to appear in court today. Just 2 days ago, though, he was reportedly stabbed in the jail in Norfolk County, Massachusetts. The sheriff's office there telling us that somebody was stabbed. They would not confirm to Court TV who it was, but Walsh's own attorney told WCVB that Walshe was stabbed and released from the hospital. So his attorney confirmed that to the public. Now, just in case you forgot some of what he was accused of, let's listen to the key evidence that's already come out.
It had become evident that Mr. Walshe was suspecting his wife of having an affair. The oldest child's iPad begins to visit websites concerned how long does it take for a dead body to smell? How long does it take for someone to be missing to be declared dead? He is seen purchasing numerous items, including a Lennox high-tension hacksaw, 48 terry cloth towels, 200 disposable rags, trash bags. In the Swampscott dumpster, they found items, including a set of Volkswagen keys, Anna Walsh's COVID vaccination card. Also located in the dumpster, Your Honor, were rugs. These rugs contain red-brown staining as well, and a piece of a Gucci necklace consistent with one that Anna Walshe wore.
Let's talk about this case. Let's talk about how the stabbing supposedly happened. What's ahead for this guy as he comes to court today to face those murder charges with respect to his deceased wife. Let's bring back in criminal defense attorney Mario Gallucci. Welcome in former NYC corrections officer Elias Hussamadeen. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Elias, let me start with you, please. The jail tells us a, quote, blunt instrument was recovered by officials. So how are these things supposedly made in what is supposed to be a secure environment? And I think you know what? Yeah, we're having trouble hearing you, and I think you're having trouble with us. That's okay, Elias. Stand by. We're going to try to fix your audio there. Mario, you certainly have had many different types of criminal cases, and perhaps seen this with other clients you've represented or people you've prosecuted. Does it surprise you how often we hear about these types of stabbing incidents taking place in what are supposed to be secure facilities?
It happens all the time. As a matter of fact, as you know, a lot of my practice is in New York, which is Rikers Island. I just had a prisoner that just had her hand broken. So yeah, it happens all the time. It's not infrequent. It's actually normal that these assaults do occur. You know, there's a lack of security. It's crazy in jail, to say the least. So this is not an unusual occurrence, at least where I practice in New York.
Sure. Mario, some of the things over the years, have you heard of how inmates make certain things and turn items into weapons?
So I'm going to give you a perfect example. I have one of my business cards is a plastic card that tells you when you pulled over, what you should do when the police approach your car. You know, be respectful, you know, cooperate, give them the paperwork they're asking for. Well, when I give those plastic cards out to a client that ends up going to Rikers Island being held on a securing order of some type, they remove those cards from them because they could make that into a knife. They carve them down, they run them on the ground until they make a knife out of it. So something as simple as a plastic card, I've heard them doing it with paper. You could, you know, roll paper up and just sharpen that up. You know, it's done, and it's done on a regular basis. They create these weapons.
Mario, thank you. Thank you for that. This is helpful. And Elias, I think we have you. So we'll cross fingers and hope we can get the tech gremlins out of the way so we can get some answers from you. Having served in corrections, you know, for many years, Mario and I were just talking. I wanted you to weigh in on this, please. How it's like the ingenuity is incredible sometimes. What inmates are able to do with certain items and make things that shouldn't be dangerous. Would you speak to how that happens, please?
Well, Mario is 100% correct. Like he said, a business card that's plastic, a toothbrush. Inmates have made weapons out of a tooth, having a tooth extracted, and the dentist give it to them. They sharpen it up, and I've seen them stab another inmate with it. They can make a weapon out of, like he said, like almost anything. To defend themselves, protect themselves, or to hurt someone else. So it's absolutely true. We have to go through their things meticulously to make sure that they're not able to take these things and turn them into weapons, for sure.
Yes. And Elias, tell me, we know in Brian Walshe's case, he was taken to a hospital away from the Norfolk County Jail to be treated, and then he was returned to the jail to be rehoused there. Would you walk us through what type of precautions need to take place and what kind of guarding situation goes on when you have an inmate like him accused of murder at a hospital around civilians getting treatment?
Well, usually, like on Rikers Island and New York City jails, we have units that are restricted units. We have units where we place people like him who are out in the public or publicly known, and we keep them separate and apart from everybody else. This situation here is not uncommon. It's not uncommon for an inmate to stage a situation where he may get hurt or stabbed for a lot of different reasons. They don't want to go to court. They want to delay the trial. They know that a particular witness is going to be there, and there's a lot of different reasons, but we put them in protective custody, and we keep them separate and apart from the other inmates. In this particular case, if he had this situation and they took him to the hospital and they brought him back, they would actually isolate him and keep him separate to ensure that he's able to go to court and that, this type of situation doesn't take place.
Elias, thank you. Really helpful. Speaking of court, Mario, tell me, we just have about 30 seconds left, but do you expect this stabbing incident to be cause for a delay from the defense? We know his trial's coming up in October.
So, no. I mean, from what I understand, it was a superficial wound. Unless the defense needs more time and they make more out of it than they really need to. But I would think that the trial would go forward unless it's, in some way going to impact his ability to sit in the courtroom and listen to what's going on. I mean, the most important person in the courtroom is going to be the defendant. He was the one.
Right.
So I think yes.
Right. You think it's moving on forward. Yeah, a lot of people watching this case, as you both know. We'll be talking about it more here on Opening Statements. Got to leave it there for now. Mario Gallucci, Elias Hussamadin, thank you both for the great insight this morning. We'll see you soon.